Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Clear Thinking with Brother Dulani. Thank you, my people, for joining me on this episode. My name is Brother Dulani, and I have been a part of the liberation struggle for African people for, since I was around 19 years old, 19, 20 years old. I've been engaged in this struggle for a very, very long time. I've been a student of our history. I've studied the many of our great ancestors, and I've learned about the atrocities that have happened to our people. And I have experienced the atrocity, the trauma of growing up under a system of colonialism and neo-colonialism. I have witnessed the devastation and the damage of enslavement and colonization on our people. I have been a victim myself as a person growing up with no identity, don't know my history, don't know my past, wandering through the system, trying to find my way. But gradually, as I begin to search, as I begin to dig deeper, I begin to learn the truth about my history, the truth about what happened to African people. And this has been my passion. Ever since I learned the truth, my mission has been trying to correct it. How do we begin to liberate ourselves from all this assault and damage that was done to our people? How do I overcome it? And I realized I need to educate myself. I need to learn. I need to do the best I can to correct myself, to repair the damage done to my mind, to build back the history that was missing, to restore my historical memory so I can understand where I stand within the history of humanity and within the history of my people. And in all my struggles, in all my learning, it have taken me to understand that our people are one damaged people. We have been comprehensively and significantly damaged by enslavement and by colonialism. And two, I've discovered that the damage necessitate reparations. It necessitate us repairing ourselves, repairing the damage that was done to us individually and collectively. And I've been on that path of repairing myself and trying to add to a movement that can galvanize our people to get involved in the political struggle to demand reparations for the damage that was done to our people. Historically, they are colonial powers who became great, who became powerful on the backs of our ancestors from the exploitation of the physical labor of our ancestors and also from the extraction of wealth from our motherland, Africa, and other lands around the world. And we have come to that understanding, that overstanding, that realization that we have been done a great harm and that it is our duty to correct this injustice. And this injustice must be corrected within a reparative justice framework. And we have many great legal scholars, many great activists, many great minds, historians who are working on this particular issue. Great works has been done on the issue of reparations. Many articles and publications and books and documentaries have done to outline all of the material claims, all of the historical claims, all of the damages, and there's been even calculation of the value of the damage that was done to our people. There's been many estimations and approximations and calculations that have went into trying to create a framework, to create a value, a validation of what happened, of the damage that was done. How do we validate? How do we evaluate that damage? So many studies has been done, and it constantly being done. But I decided that I'm going to add to this particular discussion on reparative justice mechanism that can actually administer a reparative justice. At the very minimum, on the financial level and the tracking of transferable assets and wealth, that dimension, the compensation part of reparations, because reparation is a very broad, wide, and comprehensive mechanism and framework. So we have several frameworks to work through. We have restitution, compensation, rehabilitation, guarantee of non-repetition. So these are some of the frameworks that we can work within, combining all those together to bring about reparation as defined in international law for remedy for atrocities against an entire people. Which what happened to us as an African people was a tremendous, a great atrocity, an inhuman crime, a crime against our humanity. Now, I am looking at what can I contribute to this discussion, and I'm saying that I have been studying blockchain technology for the past 7 to 8 years, and I'm realizing that the blockchain technology has the potential to create a mechanism where we can administer reparative justice through the blockchain, utilizing the decentralized distributed ledger technology to administer reparation, at least at the very minimum on the compensation level, because we will not have reparation without compensation being a part of it. We will not have reparation without technology transfer or wealth transfer. These will be aspects of reparation. There are other aspects. We don't want no one to think, and I don't want no one to think and to view this presentation as an exhaustive or final or the complete package or the complete solution to reparation, or even what reparation is, because compensation, wealth transfer, technology transfer is only a part of the complete package of what reparation truly is, because we have to deal with rehabilitation, we have to deal with restitution. Those are very significant part of rebuilding a people that has been damaged. So this particular presentation is dealing with the material part of the reparative justice and how we can monitor, track it, and ensure that it's done without any intermediary or anyone interfering with the agreement or the settlement. Once we come to that stage, we have something in place that can deal with the administration of reparation. So let's go into it. Yes, my people. Yes, as you can see on the screen here, I've prepared this presentation to show to illustrate how blockchain technology can assist us in bringing about reparation. Some of the mechanism that we can employ. This is my proposal to the African world, to the scholars, to the activists, to the people on the ground, the grassroots people, all who are involved in reparative justice. And I hope you be able to see this. The activists, them in the struggle, can see this, and maybe you can look at it and see if we can take this any further. But here we go. And this is my attempt. And I want to put it on the table that this is by no means the final verdict. This is only a proposal to the wealth transfer mechanism using blockchain to bypass traditional system. So reparation in the digital age. How do we, address reparation in this vast technological age of AI and robotics and automation, and everybody's moving so sophisticated. So we now have to move sophisticated. Some of us have to be technologically inclined and scientifically inclined to say, what are some of the mechanisms we can use? And I'm saying that we can use blockchain. We can harness this distributed ledger technology to address the historical injustice and enable our sovereignty as a people. We can use it as a way to reclaim the wealth and the knowledge and the artifacts and the history that was lost. But most importantly, in this context, to reclaim a lot of the value that was robbed from our people, the wealth, the labor, and the abuse. So we're going to move right along. So yes, my people. So moving right along, we are going into this presentation on what the blockchain can bring for our people. And as we can see, the lingering echoes of exploitation, the lingering legacy, we call it the Mangamizi in the UK. Many of the scholars in the UK have, really put a lot of work into defining the whole process of our enslavement, colonization, neo-colonization of our people, and this continuing impact on our people. And it is called the Mangamizi, which is a key Swahili word meaning the great plan, intentional damage, atrocity against a people, and is continuation of it. So we're looking at right now across the world, we have fundamental systematic inequality, fundamental exploitation. African people is at the bottom of almost every indexes when it comes to progress. So we need to correct that. And we want to use this technology as a way to bring about transformative, reparative justice. So as we move along, and we look at the colonial wealth extraction, I think I just have to give a little background to this claim of reparation for those who may be coming into this for the first time. We need to understand for centuries, these colonial powers have systematically enslaved, exploited, extracted, and done all manner of evil against African people. They have done great damage to our people, and they have stolen great values, wealth, and resources, and they have used it to build Europe and North America. Most of those countries were built on the backs of African and other indigenous people around the world. That wealth, that great prosperity that you see flourishing was made possible through the pain and suffering of many millions of people around the world for centuries. And that is the main cause of the call for reparations that we're talking about today. So we need to understand the backdrop. So that is the backdrop. You can screenshot if you want to see greater explanation that give you more detail. But I'm going to move right along because I got to make this as quick as possible. Traditional financial system. Why do I propose blockchain? Because the traditional banking system, this whole international banking system, including the IMF, World Bank, the Bank of International Settlement, all these major international institutions were built to perpetuate the inequality, to perpetuate the exploitation, to continue the injustice against our people. So these conventional banks, they continue the framework. They continue the framework of exploitation. They continue the framework of extraction. And the whole system itself was built to extract wealth from our people, not to transfer wealth to our people. And the system, it lacks transparency. We don't know the records of who took what and in what amount. A lot of that is being controlled behind firewalls, and who hold the wealth that was extracted and continue to be extracted from our ancestors. So that's some of the problem and the challenges that we have with these financial institutions. Um, and obviously they have centralized control, of the historical, the records. They are controlled by the countries, the colonial powers, and the imperialist powers control these financial institutions, particularly America and Britain and other European countries. They control these financial institutions, and they determine the policies and the implementation and the structures of it and all of that. So we have to be aware of these things, you know what I'm saying? So, some of the barriers that they continue to put up is the complex jurisdictional disputes that they will have across borders, different systems, different type of laws, and some open to the idea of listening to about reparations. Some of them are opposed. So you have complex differences that exist between these financial institutions. So there is no one way of dealing with them. So, and also they lack the mechanism of verifiable lineage claims. So, we'll be able to look at the records and to be able to trace back to see who was involved in the enslavement, who were involved I mean, in terms of institutionally and individuals and corporations and governments, and look at those records and look at the lineage and go back and see these are the characters and the actors that were involved. They lack the mechanism for verifiable lineage claims. So we need a new system to be able to document and verify this record, even to create the record. So moving right along, we're going to look closely at these things. So the global reparation movement we are beyond talking about apologies. Even though some people want apologies, I would not be opposed to apology, but the kind of reparation I'm talking about is practical. It's tangible. We want historical acknowledgement, recognition of crimes against humanity, from enslavement to colonial violence, exploitation, degradation, you name it. Historical acknowledgement. Those are some of the element of reparation. And there are some people that's what they're pushing for more than anything else. I'm pushing for comprehensive reparation for our people globally. We need material redress, tangible wealth transfer, not merely symbolic gestures or delayed promises or what we may do for you and fancy words and terminologies. We're not caught up into semantics and feel-good rhetoric. That's not what reparation is about. Repairing a harm that was done to our people, and we need tangible resources to carry out the kind of work necessary for our repairing and our healing as a people. So we got to look at the systematic transformation of the entire global system. The whole economic and political structure of this system that we have in place is a system that's rigged against African people. It's a system that is stacked against us as a people. And we would need to transform the structures and the purposing and the whole setup of the system to bring about the kind of transformation and the kind of resource that would need to go where it needs to go to repair the damage that was done by this very same system, this imperialist capitalist system has done to our people. So, we have to move towards these type of address these type of approach to reparative justice. Also, we need to consider significantly and importantly community empowerment, self-determination. We need to have a sovereign, self-determined path to development, a pathway that would develop Africans in Africa and Africans in the diaspora. This is what reparation is about, a clear path to redevelop ourselves, a clear path where we are in control of our own development. We are in control of the resources and the technology necessary for our development. And that is what, the blockchain technology can do in terms of, um, how we can bring about this transfer of wealth. So, and then we have to also look, why did traditional efforts have stalled and seems to not get to much on the way. I mean, there's a lot of complaint that, you know, we're not making no progress. They don't see no tangible progress on the issue of reparations. But I can assure you, a lot of work has been put into reparation. A lot of great and good people and qualified people and reliable and competent people are working towards bringing about reparative justice for our people. And sometimes it's not glamorous work, it's not media work. Where you see in the media, you don't get to see these people on a daily basis. You don't hear the discussion on a daily basis. So you may think that the reparative justice movement is somehow stalled or maybe ineffective or not doing anything. But I can assure you, the reparation movement is very active globally, despite some of the distraction that has taken place and some of the hijacking that is trying to take place on social media, where any little body now coming up and trying to claim reparation and try to derail and define what reparation is and give the impression that they will be the one who create the criteria for who get reparations and all this madness. A lot of distortion has emerged in the reparation movement. But let me rest assure you that these are just distraction. The real reparation movement have been going on for centuries and have taken up steam for decades in globally. Of really, African people have really got a grasp of this movement within the last, say, 3 to 4 decades. We have really been putting in that significant work to push reparation forward. So don't allow these social media groupings to come along and distort the real movement that's been carrying on and been pushing this movement for a long time. I just wanted to put that out there. So we don't get sidetracked. But for decades of advocacy, reparation efforts have faced persistent obstacles. We have faced political resistance from beneficiary nations who have benefited from our exploitation and from our brutality. They have resisted, Europe have resisted, America have resisted, many of them, matter of fact, most of them have resisted the demand for reparation. We also have a situation where the absence of transparency in accounting mechanism, we have to give account for that. You know what I mean? A lot of the records are not open, and we are constantly researching and revealing. Almost every year, more and more information is coming out about the extent of the damage and the extent of the exploitation. Um, there's also dispute over methodologies, in valuation. And how do we evaluate the harm? How do we evaluate the amount of damage that was done and the amount of value that was stolen from our ancestors? That is a ongoing struggle that will continue. Make no mistake about it. But we will come to a settlement. We will come to an understanding and overstanding and an agreement, and we will come up with a solution. Because no matter what we come up with, it will not be enough to cover the damage, the trauma, the murder and the rape and the destruction that took place no amount of money will be able to compensate for that. But we will come to some kind of preliminary agreement. We will come to some type of agreement that can even start the process of repairing. But you know, also we have as some of the barriers, some of the reason why the reparation movement have run into maybe people may think that it's not as robust as it should be or it's stalling, is that we lack, international framework for enforcement. We lack the power to enforce reparation globally at the moment. But there will become a time when we will gather our strength and we will be able to enforce reparation and bring about the reparative justice that is desired, that is so needed and so deserved of our people and for our people. So a new paradigm, what I'm saying, is needed. The centralized nature of the existing financial system enables continued denial and delay. So the existing system is constantly there to deny us, to delay us, to discourage us, but we cannot allow ourselves to become discouraged. We have to continue our struggle for reparative justice. And this new paradigm that I'm talking about now come to circumvent these traditional gatekeepers and places power directly in the hands of African communities. Because if we use the blockchain, we all will be able to participate in this revolutionary process. Blockchain is a new ledger for justice. Blockchain is a distributed ledger technology as the infrastructure for transparency, immutable, and self-sovereign reparations. Understand me, my people. We're talking about a system that is transparent, that everything that we negotiate, any settlement that we come to terms with, we put it on the blockchain so that we all can see it. And once it's there, it's recorded, it's immutable. That means that it cannot be erased. And also, it's decentralized. We will be in control of this process. Now, the core principles of blockchain technology is are transparency, immutability, and decentralization. You have to understand this. These are the fundamental characteristics that makes the blockchain technology a transformative, reparative justice initiative. Understand me when I say this, my people. It is vital that we understand what we're talking about here. Transparency. All transaction is visible and auditable by community stakeholders. So whether you're in Jamaica, Trinidad, United States, Ghana, Tanzania, uh, Gambia, every community will be able to monitor, will be able to see what's the transaction on the blockchain. Any reparation agreement that we come to terms with, it will be on a blockchain. Any transfer of wealth, it will be on a blockchain. Resources, artifacts, we'll be able to see it in real time. So we all will be able to have a say and see what happens. Immutable records. Once it is added to the blockchain, the records cannot be altered or erased, ensuring historical accountability. And also, and most importantly, is a decentralized ledger. That means no single authority controls the system. It prevents manipulations. So no individual can manipulate or scam the system because it is a decentralized system. So it's a paradigm shift from gatekeepers to self-sovereignty. The traditional system has a centralized control. It's opaque, and you can't tell and know what's going on behind the scene. It's dependent on the goodwill of the historical colonizers and the imperialists. That is how the existing system set up. We have to trust them at their word. Take them that they say, oh, we will do something for you. We will give you 1%. We'll give you 10% of all our financial transaction. But how can we verify that? We just have to take them at their word. But with blockchain technology, we don't take them at their word. It'll be self-executable. The blockchain infrastructure is distributed verification, transparent ledger, community-governed protocol that is linked to the system. That will be, if we agree to a 5% fee on all financial transaction for the future, for the next 50 years or 100 years, that will automatically be executed with the blockchain. We have to worry about how they feel about us or what they think about us and who take power next. And some vile megalomania takes over and want to change the system. Once you put it on the blockchain, it cannot be changed. It cannot be altered. It's continued to be executed. So it's to get to the point of disagreement, getting the point of implementing it. That is the greatest challenge. Once it's implemented, it is self-executing and perpetual based on the terms of the contract moving forward. So it also provides us with the ability for empowerment as an African people. So self-determination and wealth reclamation, direct access, automated enforcement. So we're talking about a system that once we come to an agreement, this agreement will be put into a smart contract that will be self-executed. Whatever financial mechanism we come to terms with, once we put it on the blockchain, it will become self-executable. That means that once we get the access, once we plug the blockchain into the system, we'll be able to automate the enforcement. Whatever percentage, whatever value, whatever agreement we make, it goes into the blockchain tracks it and distributes it to all of the different parties that it's supposed to go to. So moving right along. So we have proven applications of how DLT can work. And DLT stands for Distributed Ledger Technology, another way of saying the blockchain. This is not a blockchain course, so I'm not going to go into detail about what blockchain is. I have another channel called Pan-African Tech Decoded, where I will be going into deeper into these specific technologies, and blockchain technology is one that I will be focusing on along with AI and robotics and automations and all those other things that can drive development and assist us in our liberation. So I will be tackling those subject matters on that channel called Pan-African Tech Decoded. This is about how we can use blockchain technology to administer the actual reparation and the wealth transfer. So now, blockchain technology is already demonstrating its potential for transparency and equity across various sectors, providing viable precedent for reparations framework. In Ghana and Kenya, blockchain technology is used to secure property rights and preventing fraudulent claims and protecting indigenous land ownership. So this is where blockchain and the global geography information system can merge together. And once you get the GIS system in place and you put it on a blockchain, we'll be able to now be able to track and trace and issue property rights digitally in the form of NFTs, in the form of tokens, in the form of certification, and it'll be all on the blockchain, and it'll become transparent and visible to all who own these particular properties and what is going on with those properties. Because with the GIS system, you can add on the taxing and ownership, the name, the transfer of who own what. All of that can be done on the blockchain. So, and also supply chain transparency. You can be able to track products from the seed to the planting, to the growth, to the distribution of the products. So commodities will be able to track from the source to the market, all the way through to ensure fair competition and preventing exploitation. So we can see the price. As the goods go through the supply chain, we can track to see how the price is being sold, how the goods are being sold and for what price, all the way through from the farmer to the market and to the profit. so we can be able to see what's going on there. So that is some of the way that this blockchain technology is already being used, but we want to use it to carry out other purposes, such as designing a digital reparation framework, from practical application of distributed ledger technology for verifiable claims, asset identification, and equitable distribution. So, we must be practical at some stage in this reparation movement. We will get to the stage where we will have to be talking about how do we authorize claims. What body, how do we establish verifiable lineage? These are some of the things that we have to think about, and we have to start thinking about it. And we have to write smart contracts that would validate attestation. So if you claim that your ancestors were enslaved, we have people in the community that can verify that, your grandparents was such and such, and you live here, you are the descendants of so and so and so. These are what we call attestation. We have people called justice of the peace, ministers in the community, people of good standing, judges, professionals, all other people and the historians who know the history of communities, and people who know the history of people can attest to people who are making claims for reparation. So this is some of the things that the blockchain can do. So we have a blockchain set up where people can go now and authorize their claim or get their claim authorized, they claim to reparation, because individual institutions, governments, all will be able to make claims, and these claims would have to be authorized in the interest of implementing reparative justice. So on the blockchain, we can issue credentials, we can mint blockchain identity tokens. So once you go and verify that you say who you are, you'll be given an NFT, a certification, a digital token that's linked directly to you, that's verified that, yes, I qualify for reparation. I'm due reparation. My family is due reparation. So that can be done. Also, we can integrate DNA, because DNA will become central to reparative justice claim. We can link genetics and genealogical data on the blockchain, so it's integrated. So once we can confirm the DNA and confirm your community link to enslavement and colonization, all those information will be put together to help authorize your claim for reparations. So these are some of the mechanisms that we will have to consider as we go forward to, verify lineage claims to reparation. So what this does as well, it can also digitize records. So we start to scan and index historical documents, because many of us now we'll have to start thinking about documenting our family history, showing that my grandfather were in a part of the colonial experience. My great grandparents were enslaved, and if we got pictures and diaries or any kind of artifacts, we can scan them and index them and put them on the blockchain and become a part of this whole body of information that we are collecting to give a full picture of all the people that was damaged by the manganese. So this is a solution that we can implement, and everyone in their own community, in their own home, can be able to go on the system and to be able to upload their documentation and become part of the process to authorize their claim for reparation. Technical implementation. Decentralized identity protocols allow individuals to maintain sovereign control over their lineage credentials. So your DNA, your genealogy record, your birth certificate, and others, you still maintain sovereignty over it, where on the blockchain, no one can use it because you still maintain your privacy on it. But the the zero knowledge proofs, it protects privacy while confirming eligibility. It can say that while we don't know who this individual is, based on the information you submit, you qualify, you're eligible for reparation. So it can be done in a way where you still have control over your information, your credentials, and you authorize who will get access to it. So if you authorize this blockchain reparation process to use your documentation, to use your credential, it will use it, it will validate your claim, and then turn over your credentials to you. You still have access. You still own your credentials, and it cannot be used for any other purpose than what you intended to be used for. So I just want to know, this is some of the functionality of the blockchain, that it gives us this capability to do this. So it can be done on the blockchain, where your identity can be protected while your eligibility is confirmed. Just let you know it can be done. So a community governed nodes can validate claims. So when we talk about nodes, we talk about we have validators in different communities. Across the Caribbean, there will be scholars and legal activists and all kind of people that can be able to validate claim based on the criteria that you went through, the process you went through, your documentation you submitted, and so forth like that. So we'll be able to go through that. And one of the reasons why we have to do this, because for fraud and for scamming and for people who are trying to come and try to scam the system, we'll have to have mechanism in place to validate who is due reparation. So the blockchain enables the creation of immutable digital identities linked to verified lineage documentation, combining historical records, genetic data, and community attestation. You know what I'm saying? So you're combining all these elements. The community can verify everybody. Because when I grew up, everybody knew everybody in the community. We knew Mas John, Mas Tom, Miss Mary. So a lot of that still exists, where communities can verify who you are, especially your grandparents. You know, many would know Mas John live up there, so Mas Tom live down there, so we can we pull together that record with the DNA record, with the the historical records of the area, the country itself, and also lineage documentation using DNA. So we have a multiple discipline that we can bring to bear, and all of it can be tracked on the blockchain. That's the significance of what I'm saying here, is that we can put together this system in a way that it is safe, is secure, and it provides us with a solution moving forward. And so let me just continue with this process here. So on-chain asset identification and valuation. Blockchain provides unprecedented capabilities to catalog, track, and value assets subject to reparations claim. So we're looking at the ability to use the blockchain to catalog, to track, and to value assets that we deem are subject to reparations claim. The wealth that was extracted, the labor that was extracted, the cultural artifacts and damage that was done to our people, all those things, the cultural artifacts held in Western Museum, to mineral wealth extracted during colonial periods, all of that can be done on the blockchain. We can we can validate that and evaluate that, and create a database where we can have all that information available in a transparent way to the world. So we can tokenize the records of stolen artifacts with provenance provenance chain. Provenance chain dealing with the origin of these artifacts. Where did they come from? And deal with the issue of restitution. So we can be able to track that process as well. And also the natural resources we speak about earlier, the historical extraction, data mapping to current valuation and own compensation. Now we talk about the geography information system. The GIS can also be incorporated in this process when it comes to natural resources. So we can pinpoint where these resources were taken from, the quantity of the resources, and also the value of these resources. We need to know the truth. Labor. We need to calculate the worth of enslaved labor and unpaid work with compound interest to be able to come to a valuation of what is acceptable as a starting point to address reparative justice, especially the component dealing with compensation, wealth transfer, technology transfer, and other resources that's needed to repair the damage done to our people. So these are just starting point in the struggle. Now, smart contracts will be needed. Automating equitable distribution is definitely necessary, and this can be done by code. We can create smart contracts to administer these things autonomously. So once we come to an agreement with these imperialist powers and these former colonial powers, and we agree on which mechanism we're going to go about, whether it be taxation, whether it be by fee, transactional tax, or direct wealth transfer, whatever mechanism we create we create smart contract that encodes the terms of reparations agreements into self-executing code, eliminating the need for intermediaries and preventing political interference or administrative delays. That is very important. Let me say that again. Smart contracts will be able to encode the terms of reparations agreements into self-executing code, eliminating the need for intermediaries and preventing political interference or administrative delay. This is key. Once we come to an agreement, we need to be able to lock it in and lock that agreement in, and it will be uninterrupted, immutable. So if we're talking about a 5% tax, I'm just giving an example here, or fee, whatever you call it, a levy on all financial transaction for the next 50 years or 100 years, and that will go to X amount of account to be distributed here and there to take care of certain priorities. That all that will be written into codes, encoded on the blockchain, and will be executed. And it will not be able to be disrupted once it is put in place. So these protocols can implement sophisticated distribution models that prioritize the most affected communities, adjust for inflations, and ensure funds reach intended beneficiaries rather than being siphoned by corruption. So the blockchain technology will be able to ensure that exactly what we agree to is exactly what's going to happen. And it's going to go exactly where it was intended to go. And the people who are supposed to benefit will be benefiting from it. And no one will be able to come in and try to corrupt the system and scam the system. So that's what we're looking forward to as we go forward if blockchain is used as a mechanism to administer the distribution of reparative justice for our people. So, preventing misuse through design, and this is all by design, by the way, multi-signature approval, where depending on certain accounts, no one individual will be able to have access to whatever wealth is coming into it on a regular basis or value that is accumulated over time. A significant distribution require consensus from elected community representative, preventing unilateral misappropriation. These are some of the mechanisms that have to be put in place. We have to be practical people. We're going to need to put together people on an international level who will represent our interests in reparation. And they will have to work in consensus before anything can be done. Any fund can, at least when it comes to significant distribution of significant amount of resources to particular places, it would have to be done through collective agreement and consensus. So a conditional release. Funds unlock upon verified milestone in community development projects, ensuring accountability. Also, we create multiple smart contracts and blockchain, on the blockchain, to be able to release resources, funds or value towards certain project as certain completion is our milestone, our goal is reached. Then we move on to other goals and more funds is released for other projects. So we are addressing an ongoing process of repairing the damage that was done to our people. So that is how we can program these things. So once one goal is met, then X amount of fund is released towards another goal that's needed to be done. And all these will be done by criteria. Number 3, we can design, we can audit. All of this will be transparent and we all can be able to see it. All transactions will be publicly visible on the blockchain, enabling community oversight and rapid detection of irregularities. It is very important that we understand this. It will be on the blockchain. Everybody will be able to see it and it will be transparent. That is very important that we understand that. So overcoming the hurdles and challenges and solution. We must address the technicality, the legal challenges, the governance obstacles to implementation. They don't go away. These realities remain. The scholars, the activists, the grassroots people, they still have to be fighting day in and day out against a lot of the barriers, a lot of the challenges that we face. So we can't go around it. We can't avoid it. Now, some of the technicalities that we are faced with, technical complexity, is scalability. Because you can imagine, to administer something like this on a global scale, you have to have a massive system in place that can process this. And that is what the blockchain is built for. And now with the ability for scalability, the blockchain them now is becoming bigger and huge and complex and be able to process millions of claims efficiently without network congestions. These are some of the challenges that we're going to have, be able to process claims from millions of our people who are going to demand reparation, who's going to require reparation to carry out the healing process. Institutions who need resources to carry out the work of healing in their community. And some of the solution is layer 2 protocols. Well, on the blockchain, like Ethereum, like Solana, those are layer 1s. You can build on top of those layers, layer 2 solutions, layer 2 protocols that can scale to great height. Also, sharding technologies can also help with this, the throughput and the processing needed to carry out this massive undertaking. Sharding simply means that the technology exists to break down each transaction into smaller transaction and smaller units, and also divide them up on different machineries in a horizontal way where they can be parallel processing can take place at the same time. So it's not just focused on one machine that is getting more and more power, but on many, many machines that has multiple power and multiple processing ability. And that's what sharding really means, multiple processing on multiple machines of the same operation. So that help with scalability. Interoperability is also going to be a challenge. How do we interact the blockchain to the traditional system, the traditional banking system? Because we will be dealing with these traditional institutions, because they have been the gatekeepers. They have been the one who have been administering the extraction of wealth, administering the enslavement of our people, accumulating the wealth that was stolen from our people. So we would need a system to be able to go from the blockchain to their system. Some kind of bridging mechanism would be needed. So some integration with the existing financial system with multiple blockchain network. So that is some of the challenges that we have, but there are solutions out there. We have cross-chain bridges and interoperability protocols that can be used to allow us to integrate all of this on the one massive system that can administer reparation. And it's decentralized, so it won't be stored on no centralized system where it can be destroyed or something can go wrong and the entire system will just crumble. No, if one part of the system breaks down, it can continue because it's on distributed ledger on multiple computer system around the world, multiple servers, multiple. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of computers. It will be distributed across the internet, across the blockchain, which will be Web3, will be the new internet. And that's where our solution in terms of put the blockchain will be. So, so those protocols of cross bridge and interoperability exist and continue to be developed and will be needed in our case to implement our reparative justice solution. Also, identity. Digital identity will be a challenge. Verifying who people coming on making claims, and they want their claims to be authorized. We need to ensure that these people are who they are. We need to make sure that they are human beings, that they're African descendants, African heritage people, and we need to be able to use, like we said before, community attestation, biometrics, and also oral history to validate who people are. And once we validate them, we can make that be available on the blockchain, and people will have self-sovereign governance over their identity. That's important. But we need to be able to identify who is who, so non-Africans will not be able to come in and make false claim for reparative justice. Even though we're not opposed to non-African getting reparations, but whatever mechanism is done and whoever will qualify would have to go through the process. So, if other people is entitled and they are under the agreement, they're included, therefore they go through the process, they get validated, they get a claim as well. So we're going to move it right along. So legal and political resistance, we have to deal with confronting institutional opposition. Historical countries are beneficiary nations, and institutions will resist and have resist reparation frameworks. And they will continue to be resist. Now, even though we are moving with blockchain technology that bypass traditional institution, they will resist, even though many of them are also adapting to this new technology. Many of them are using blockchain technology, and it will make it easier for us to integrate with them if they are using blockchain as well, which I suspect that many of these nations will continue to use blockchain, and many of the institutions will evolve into blockchain with their operations. And we also, if we adopt blockchain technology, can be able to interact with these different blockchain in a more seamless manner. So we're gonna have to now, we have some work to do. We need to develop some strategies to overcome this resistance that they're gonna come with. They're definitely gonna come with some resistance. We're gonna have to have strategy. We have to build international coalition amongst the global South nation. We're gonna have to decide to build a coalition that will be putting forward a mechanism on the blockchain that will interact with these institutions, to saying that once we get to that stage, once we get to the terms and condition, this is how we want it to be implemented, because we don't want it to be able to be tampered with. We don't want a future administration to come along to be able to, you know, undo the whole process. So blockchain is one of the ways to make it immutable, unchanged, unable to erase the agreement that has been made. So the global South nations will have to come together to create this mechanism to implement reparation through using the blockchain to implement reparation, leveraging existing international law frameworks on genocide and crimes against humanity. There are plenty of laws on the books against against that addresses crime against humanity. The United Nations have mechanism in place. The International Court of Justice exists. The International Criminal Court exists. A lot of a UN body on human rights exists. There's many institutions internationally that exist that we will have to leverage. That whenever we're able to win a case, it will go and be administered to the blockchain to ensure that it is done. It is encoded and is self-executed. So whatever body we able to gain victory and win any type of progress, or we win, anytime we're able to score any victory, we're able to put it on the blockchain and implement it through the blockchain. So we have to constantly leverage these existing institutions. Also, we have to create parallel economic system that reduce dependency on traditional institution. We have to create our own alternative. We have to have our own self-determined, sovereign economic system. We propose a economic political system based on Mahat Ubuntu. Our economic system must be able to solve African problems through collective work and responsibility, where everyone benefit and the majority of the people, the society will be built in the interest of the majority of the people and not for a handful of people. So a return to our traditional African value of collective development will also be a part of our move going forward as African people. We will be implementing a system that will eliminate poverty, eliminate inequality, eliminate homelessness, eliminate despair, and build hope in our people, to unlock the creativity in our people, to unlock the entrepreneurship in our people, but at the same time are committed to high productivity, the highest level of science and technology. We will not be putting any limitation on our people. We will not create an economic system that limits our people. It will be unlocking the potential of our people, but for the benefit of the society as a whole. That's the principal differences. So we have to create our own food, clothes, and shelter. We have to produce what we consume, and we have to consume what we produce as a people. That's the first step towards sovereignty and peoplehood. Also, we have to mobilize diaspora economic power through coordinated action. So, as a people, we're in a position right now where economically, You know, we are big consumers in the Western world, particularly in the United States, in the Caribbean, and across Africa. We are a big consumer of foreign goods, foreign services, and we may have to leverage that as well. So, you know, companies and institutions that disrespect us, we cannot allow that to stand. So we have to mobilize, the people in the diaspora to listen. We need to pressure these institutions to come to the table to deal with reparations. We need to pressure the political system in these nations to come to the table to deal with reparation. In the United States, they have to deal with reparations. Across Europe, the issue of reparations have to be dealt with. Despite the legal and political resistance, we have to mobilize to deal with it. So it's not an easy walk. It's not a situation where things are just going to happen overnight. It's an ongoing struggle. It's a protracted struggle. And community-led governance is non-negotiable. True reparative justice demands that African and diasporan communities maintain sovereign control over every aspect of reparations framework. Let me say that again. True reparative justice demands that African and diaspora communities maintain sovereignty or maintain sovereign control over every aspect of the reparations framework. External actors, no matter how well-intentioned, cannot be permitted to design or govern these systems. African people have to decide for themselves. We have to define every aspect of the reparation frameworks. Outside allies, they can be helpful, they can be well-intentioned, but they cannot be permitted to design and govern these systems that we need for our reparative justice, for our healing, for our repairing. We have to be the one who design and govern all the systems necessary for our reparations. I need to be crystal clear on that. We are not opposed, at least I'm not opposed to ally, but ally and others, external actors, no matter how well-intentioned, should not and cannot be permitted to design and govern these systems that I'm talking about. These systems will have to be governed by us as African people. Democratic protocol decisions. We have to decide that as an African people. In all our local communities, community auditing power, where we be able to look on the blockchain and see exactly who is getting what project is being built, how it's been progressing, and so forth. Elected governance body. In our local community, we will elect representatives to represent us on the issue of reparative justice and healing and repairing. Transparent decision records. We must keep records of all the decisions we make. And the participation, the design process must be a participatory design process where everyone can participate in. And this is how we have to move going forward. Community-led governance. This aspect of reparation is non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. And we respect all of we respect all who wants to participate. We respect that. But when it comes to the healing and the repairing, That is up to us as African people to do. And the smart contract will dare to ensure that all that is done systematically. That is the important part of that. So we get to the part now where we're dealing with the future of African economic empowerment beyond reparations, building sovereign wealth. Once we are in a place where we are in control of reparation, we are in control, we are now on the road to repairing, and we are moving and we are building. The goal is to build sovereignty, sovereign wealth, and sovereign power. Blockchain enabling reparation represent more than just compensation for past harm. I mentioned that. They provide the infrastructure for permanent economic transformation. This technology can fund educational system, healthcare networks, manufacturing capacity, technological innovation across the African continent and diaspora. This framework established protocols for ongoing Pan-African economic cooperations, facilitating trade, investment, and resource sharing that bypass exploitative intermediaries. Future generations will be able to inherit not just wealth, but the system to protect and multiply it. The time for patience has passed. The technology exists. The moral imperative is clear. We must build. We must repair. We must heal as a people. Innovators, activists, policymakers, community leaders, this is your call to action. Let us construct this digital bridge to justice, block by block, transaction by transaction, until the ledger is finally balanced. This has been Clear Thinking with Brother Dulani, addressing the use of blockchain technology as a tool to bring about reparative justice, to administer the transfer of wealth, technology, and power from the beneficiary nations, from the imperialist, colonizing nations, the colonial powers, to the people that was damaged in the last 500 years. Moving forward, we have to use technology to the best of our ability. And I just want us to just be crystal clear about that. This technology is a very important piece of technology that we can use to our benefit. But make no mistake about it, it will not be easy to get to that stage. But at least we know when we get to that stage, we have the technology ready and in place. We can now encourage our universities and our people that are engaged in computer technology and programming to begin to prepare this ledger, this blockchain, to be able to write all of these smart contracts, to encode all the agreements on reparations and the framework and the solutions, can code it, to encode it to where it becomes self-executable and automated. And we can begin, or we can continue the process of reparative justice to heal ourselves. I want to thank you for listening to Clear Thinking with Brother Dulani. Do like, do share, do subscribe, and let me know what you think about this idea. Is it a valid idea? Can it be done, my people? Can we really and truly implement reparations using the blockchain technology? Is it possible in this day and age? As we're moving into the 21st century, moving with how technology, with our AI and robotics and automation is moving at the moment. We have to move at the time. We have to get our children prepared for this type of technology. So thank you for listening. Do comment, do like, do subscribe. And until next time, Ashe, Ashe.